The Cry of the Cat, the first Goosebumps book in Goosebumps Series 2000. And so, I would say overall it's a pretty great start for the Goosebumps Series 2000. There's definitely a lot of positive aspects to the story. Honestly though, the book does feel kind of short. I don't know. I read this book not too long ago. Maybe it's just really fast-paced and super entertaining and all that stuff. So if that's the case, then it's super positive. But I don't know. I read this book in a very short amount of time. I do read Goosebumps books at a very short amount of time, most of the time, but I don't know, this one just took a very short amount of time for me to read it and all that stuff, so I just thought it was just a little short of a book, but it's super entertaining again. I'm sorry about that, but it's a super entertaining book. I really like it, highly recommend it, and I especially like the main antagonist of the story, Rip, who we are going to be talking about in this video today. And so basically, the whole point of this video is today we're going to be trying to figure out how does Rip get his powers that he has in the story. But before we continue, there's going to be some spoilers, so spoiler warning for The Cry of the Cat, the first Goosebumps book in Goosebumps Series 2000. Also, we're going to be having some, I would say, minor spoilers, I guess, for Into the Twister of Terror. And so, when I say minor spoilers, I'm just talking about, like, maybe one or two endings or concepts that are used in the story. Nothing big, no huge plot elements. After all, it's Give Yourself Goosebumps books. Or Give Yourself Goosebumps books, sorry about that. And so, the plot constantly changes to all these things. So, you really can't spoil a Give Yourself Goosebumps book, in my personal opinion, unless you read all the endings. And I'm only going to be spoiling, like, one or two, so not that big spoilers for that, but also I'm going to be having some very, very slight and minor spoilers for, why I'm afraid of bees. And so, again, not that big spoilers for that, just mainly, I'm going to be talking about an animal's intelligence in that story. I'm not even going to get into any plot details or anything like that. Mainly just the intelligence of an animal in that story. So, yeah, that's pretty much all spoilers we're going to be having in this video. So, if you haven't read Cry of the Cat, really, then I don't think you should watch this video because there's going to be some spoilers. But if you have read Cry of the Cat and not the other books, then I think you should be fine. And so anyway, guys, after 2 minutes and 30 seconds of this, let's get to the main point of this video and figure out the mystery of how does Rip get his powers. And so, just in case you don't know who Rip the Cat is basically, used to be this science experiment cat that was used by this evil scientist lady. So she was experimenting on cats, and this led to the death of a bunch of cats, and basically they were all buried in this graveyard. All of them are supposedly dead, though, except for one, and that is named Rip. And so he supposedly was killed during these experiments, but according to the evil scientist lady, I don't think it's that reliable what she said, but she said that Rip the Cat was too evil to stay dead, so he comes back and wants revenge for basically him getting murdered by the evil scientist lady. And so basically, in order to get revenge on her, he basically scratches her, and that somehow sucks the life out of her, and he basically has 9 lives now that he's out of the grave and all that stuff. So, pretty much, he's just not really doing anything other than that. He's just, it seems like, torturing the evil scientist lady and her daughter, I think, except he's not scratching her. And so that's pretty much all there is for Rip before the events of the book happen. But then the main protagonist in the story accidentally runs over Rip with her bicycle, and this results in him losing one of his 9 lives. And so, as it turns out, he's actually looking for someone to replace the evil scientist lady, because apparently she's running out of life, and every time Rip scratches her, she turns more and more into a cat herself. And so, he needs a new person, fresh meat and all that stuff. And so, basically, he's going after the main protagonist, because she took away one of his 9 lives. So, he's targeting her and trying to kill her. Or, not kill her, yeah, pretty much kill her. He tried to suffocate her at one point in the story. He's just attacking her a couple of times and all that stuff. At one point, actually succeeds in scratching her, and she turns more cat-like in a way. and actually eats a bunch of cans of tuna, the main protagonist does. But that's pretty much it until Rip visits the graveyard where she finds Rip's grave along with a bunch of other dead cat people. And also it turns out Rip enslaved all of the ghost cats, or all the ghosts of the cats that had died with the experiments. And so basically Rip and all the other dead cats are trying to attack the main protagonist. Main protagonist runs to this house that has closely been associated with Rip, which is the house of the evil scientist lady. And basically she goes in and they reveal, the whole origin story for Rip and everything like that. Then Rip comes in, but then he's killed by the other ghost cats due to the main protagonist getting this toy mouse that's very realistic and throwing it in an area near Rip where all the ghost cats who are still cats just attack Rip because he's near the toy rat, and basically that results in the last life that Rip has being gone. And so that's pretty much the entire story for Cry of the Cat. I'm sorry I'm spending such a long time talking about the plot and spoiler warning and all that stuff. I guess the plot of Cry of the Cat is slightly complicated in a way. But there are a few questions, though, in the story of Cry of the Cat. And the biggest one being, how come Rip has powers, and how come he came back from the dead? Because the explanation the evil scientist lady, or the scientist lady, gives doesn't really seem correct. She says that Rip is too evil to stay dead. And I'm not really sure about that. There's been countless Goosebumps monsters that are probably way more evil than Rip will ever be, in my personal opinion. We don't even see him do anything evil in the story of Cry of the Cat, other than try to get revenge for the main protagonist killing him, and same case as well for the evil scientist lady. So, doesn't really do that much evil when he's got superpowers and everything like that. So, and he doesn't really seem capable of doing anything evil when he was a normal living cat. So how could he be too evil to stay dead? And maybe you think, oh, maybe all the animals in the Goosebumps universe are too evil or something like that. But then there's the ghost cats and everything like that. So I'm not really sure if that is the case. And even in Why I'm Afraid of Bees, we do have a bee that is not evil. So not every single Goosebumps animal is evil, as you can tell. Also, there's a cat from Attack of Jack or something like that. So not all basically Goosebumps animals are evil in the Goosebumps universe, and I don't really see why Rip would be an exception. Doesn't do anything evil, and there's far more evil people in the Goosebumps universe who should have, come back from the dead, like the main antagonist in one of the Goosebumps books, in which they, in their living years, burned down half a town, which results in the death of a bunch of people. I don't think Rip can go to that strength. So, I don't really see how Rip could just come back from the dead. We know he's dead due to the tagline of the story being Dead Cat Walking. And also, in the book, you do see Rip's grave, and his body was even in, I think, the coffin. So, that's kind of proof that Rip is, or at one point was dead. So, I'm not really sure. How come Rip just comes back from the dead? It's not the explanation given by the evil scientist lady or whatever. So, how did Rip come back? And not only that, but when Rip did come back, he received special powers, like super strength, because he's able to nearly suffocate the main protagonist. The normal cat can't really do that. Also, he can, scratch people, and he sucks out their life, and he can enslave ghost cats, and he's just got a bunch of different supernatural powers. And also, he can pretty much heal himself, and he has 9 lives. And I don't really see the explanation for this. We do see undead people in the Goosebumps universe, and none of them get really superpowers for being undead. And so, I'm not really sure the explanation for why Rip gets all these superpowers. And that's pretty much the main topic of this video. Again, sorry it's taking so long to get to the main topic. But, you see, it's kind of strange that Rip gets all these superpowers and everything like that, and he comes back from the dead in the first place. So what is the explanation for this. And so I came up with a bunch of different explanations. Like, the first thing was maybe Rip was possessed by someone, kind of like the Graveyard Ghouls. But that really doesn't make any sense due to them not getting any superpowers either. So, really, nothing I could find really made sense, except for one theory that I did have, and that was, if it was something similar to what happens in Into the Twister of Terror. I think, with this explanation, I think this could explain all of the reasons why Rip gets all his powers, and also why he gets his intelligence. I forgot to mention that Rip gets humanly intelligence. He gets super smart, he's got human intelligence, and all of that stuff in the story of Cry of the Cat, which is incredibly odd, I would say, considering that he used to be a cat. And we do know intelligence levels of animals due to in Why I'm Afraid of Bees. They had an animal in there, and he did not have human-like intelligence at all. And so, that being said, I don't really see why Rip would get all the superpowers himself either. And so, I think the best explanation, again I say, is if it's something like Into the Twister of Terror. So just in case you don't know, basically, according to this book and one of the endings I only took a couple of endings, and luckily I got into the, 2 or so concepts that I found in the story that could actually prove this theory to be correct. And so basically when a tornado does come, I'm sorry about that, basically the animals become smarter and also I think be able to talk. And that could maybe explain some of the superpowers. The animals do get superpowers from storms when they come and all that stuff, from what I remember of the story. And they get human-like intelligence, which could explain Rip's human-like intelligence that he gets in the story and everything like that. But still, it wouldn't explain why Rip has super strength and all that stuff. The dog in the story of Into the Twister of Terror does not have super strength or any magical powers due to the tornado or something like that. Plus, a storm is not going on during the events of Cry of the Cat. But there is another explanation we can have from Into the Twister of Terror, and that is that he has an owner who loved him so much that he gains, basically, powers. So, Into the Twister of Terror, at one point in the story, you risk your life to save your pet dog. And so, apparently, this basically gives the animal superpowers because the owner loved him so much, he gets to keep his human intelligence, keeps the ability to talk, and also he gets powers. I don't think they say any powers. I think they get, super strength, which you can see in Rip, and all of those different things. And so, I think this could be the perfect explanation for the Cry of the Cat, and mainly its main antagonist, Rip. That's why he can't stay dead. Maybe because he has an owner who loved him so much and all that stuff, and so that's how he gains his superpowers, and that's his main goal throughout the story, is to find his lost owner. Maybe. I think that is a pretty good explanation. Sorry about that. But I think that's a pretty good explanation for this theory. It's the, tornado, or, he gets an owner that loved him a lot. This gives him superpowers, but this is why also he gets very angry when people kill him, because he wants to live and stay with his owner, maybe, or something like that. And again, I say, it explains all the superpowers, it explains his intelligence. He doesn't talk in the story, but maybe he just chooses not to. I'm not really sure. And all of that, so I think overall this could be likely, but you might say there is disproving evidence for this in the fact that, basically, in The Cry of the Cat, he probably should have found his owner by then. I mean, if the owner loved him very much and he was taken from his owner, why doesn't he try to go out and try to find the owner? And, that would seem probably be the only reason why he's still alive then, and all that stuff, so why doesn't he try to find the owner? And I think the explanation for this is that the owner is probably already there. I mean, he obviously, again, would probably find his owner by then, and everything like that, so I don't see why he's still hanging out with that evil scientist person. So I think he would have been gone then. After all, he has all those slave ghost cats, and they could easily find it, just search all across the world and everything like that. So I'm not 100% sure on why not, but I have a theory that his owner that loved him so much could easily be the daughter of the evil scientist lady. The only plausible explanation for the whole Rip getting his powers thing is if he did have an owner that loved him very much, like Into the Twister of Terror. So that's the only explanation we really have, or the only explanation I could find. So, basically, you know, there's got to be an answer to this, and I think the answer is that it's the evil scientist lady's daughter that owned it. Oh, I'm sorry about that. I lost track. I'm so sorry, but pretty much, I don't really see if Rip loved the owner so much and the owner loved him so much, how they could part, you know, that's kind of strange. So I think the best explanation for this is that, basically, he wasn't taken from it because, again, he could easily find the owner, and I don't see how they could be separated and how he could be used for science experiments and all that. I think it's the evil scientist lady's daughter. I think this would make a whole lot of sense, mainly because, first off, he doesn't harm the evil scientist lady's daughter. Her explanation for why the daughter wasn't harmed is because she gave up her life, I think, so the daughter could be saved and spared, so she would be scratched a lot, but this doesn't make any sense. From what we see in Cry of the Cat, Rip is this merciless cat. Whoever messes with him, he'll get revenge for. And I'm not really sure he would make a deal or anything like that. So, I think that's automatic disproving evidence for this. And so I think, again, that it could easily be the scientist's daughter who loved him so much. This would explain how he gets into this experiment situation in the first place. Maybe this evil scientist lady grabs Rip and does experiments on him just because, you know, she owns him and everything like that. That could make some sense. And so I think there's a lot of evidence to prove this. And it also explains why Rip, you know, never attacks the daughter. Because even in the book it says he's looking for someone new to, you know, take the life out of. The daughter is a super easy one to just grab and take the life out of. I mean, she's already there. And it's not like the evil scientist lady can do anything to Rip. So I think the whole reason he's sparing her is because that was the owner who loved him so much, and that's what gave him the powers. That would explain how he got into this experiment situation in the first place. That would explain how he gets the powers, and all of that. And so anyway, guys, I'm sorry if this video is slightly disjointed. I'm really sorry about that if it was. I'm sorry it's a bit long. But anyway, guys, comment down below what you think about this theory. Do you think that Rip had a previous owner, namely the evil scientist lady's daughter, and all that? Do you think that is the case? What's your explanation for how Rip gets his superpowers in the story? Do you think it's just because he's too evil and so he gets all these superpowers? Or tell me what you think in the comment section below. But anyway, guys, that's the end of my video, and I hope you enjoyed.